Welcome to the Cover 2, episode 58, I believe, is what we're on now. Yeah, it's episode 58. We're back in the studio. We're presented by Tigervision, as always. I'm with Grayson Mann. I'm Patrick Neal. Grayson, first week of the NFL is done. How we feeling?
I feel a sense of sorrow for a certain franchise. You know, it was an off-season of unbelievable hype. There was a Hard Knocks TV show. You guys may have watched it. I don't know. There's a guy named Aaron Rodgers in there who was the star of the show. And you get into it, 4 plays in a season can change just like that. I think that's where we got to start. Patrick, I just want to I know you have some friends who are Jets fans. I have a friend who is a Jets fan who, I can't say exactly what he said to me on text, but he was not happy.
Yeah.
He feels like they can't have anything nice, and the season is likely over, at least the playoffs, for the Jets.
Yeah, it's tough. We're going to talk about the Jets a little bit, then we're going to do a little bit of what you did on your podcast, Studs and Duds. We're going to bring that over, but anyways, yeah, I mean, there are no words. If you're a Jets fan, I don't know what you could possibly think. It's just sorrow. It's just sadness upon sadness, multiplied by sadness.
We should have gotten the tombstone.
We should have brought out the tombstone.
It might have been in poor taste, though.
Look, they're 1-0. Zach Wilson is 1-0. I believe he's 6-2 in his last 8 starts, although I guess I would count this as a start because Aaron Rodgers only played 4 snaps.
Aaron Rodgers did finish the year 1-0.
Yeah, if we're counting this game, I think he's 6-2 in his last starts. Mm-hmm. So look, the Jets. I'm sorry. There really isn't. It's just so unfortunate. Everybody was so high on him. What do you do if you're the Jets? You stick with Zach?
Solid did say that they're going to stick with Wilson, but we'll see how long that continues. I could see it. I'm just going to read off the next slate of games that they have, and I want you to tell me if they're going to win or lose them. And we're going to start. They're going to have a road trip to Dallas this weekend.
Okay.
They play Belichick and the Patriots at home, which I think the matchup certainly changes without Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
They have Mahomes on the 1st of October in prime time. Then they play Broncos country on the road. They have the Eagles at home, the Giants, and then the Chargers. That is their slate until November 6th.
I mean, those are all probably tough losses besides the Patriots. Easy win.
You had to sneak it in there.
I'm kidding. The Patriots looked pretty solid, but we can get to that in a bit. Yeah, that's a tough schedule. There isn't much beating around the bush there. The Jets have a tough schedule, especially these first few games. So I don't think you can. I personally do not think you can stick with Zach Wilson.
No.
I think it's a little bit of a controversial opinion there that Zach Wilson is not the guy. But who do you go to? I think I've heard a lot of Andy Dalton potentially or Jacoby Brissett, 2 seasoned veterans, good locker room guys. Andy Dalton was quietly solid on the Saints last year. Mm-hmm. You could get a Case Keenum, a Blake Bortles out of retirement, a Matt Ryan, who's currently not retired technically.
He's not retired, but he's getting still 28-3 strays in the broadcast booth.
In the broadcast booth, he can't escape it. It is like Thanos for him. 28-3 is inevitable. You've also got Phillip Rivers potentially. Joe Flacco is still sitting there.
He is.
I personally, when I first heard the news, I'm thinking, okay, what's Kyler's health looking like? Because I don't know how expensive Kyler would be to get.
Ooh.
I know they traded away some draft picks to get Rodgers, but if Kyler's good in 4 to 5 weeks,
there was a report that said that he wasn't going to play at all, and then you'd have to eat the contract on top of the Aaron Rodgers deal that you're already paying him for.
He gave back $35 million.
He did.
He did.
Wow. Aaron continues to impress me.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
I think it came out a few weeks ago that he was giving up some of his contract, but I don't know if that's the most.
That certainly would be a shocking kind of move.
But like if you call the 49ers, you get your doctors around, and they're like, yeah, he's healthy. These conflicting reports. He's more on the healthy side. I know it's a whole new offense he has to learn, and Kyler isn't exactly the same type of QB that Aaron Rodgers was. So, that might be difficult. But Kyler was, when he was healthy, was near an MVP level.
I think at this point the Jets are going to be desperate in a couple weeks once they see that with your I don't know if I'd call it a hot take because I think I'm riding there with you, that Zach Wilson's going to probably buy New England, and he usually does unravel when he plays the Patriots. He's going to have a little bit of a rough going, and the Jets have too good of a roster to let that pass. So I honestly like Andy Dalton. I would love to see potentially, maybe you could try to get Sam Darnold shipped over as an option. That'd be quite the return.
Can you go back to Sam Darnold?
Can you? Now, there's a rumor floating around that Tom Brady might be an option.
Tom Brady is also an option?
I think you can't go in a halftime ceremony saying you're a Patriot for life and then immediately sign with their worst enemy about 6 days later.
Yeah, that would be hilarious.
That would suck.
Him or Sam Darnold would be hilarious. Blake Bortles would also be hilarious. I saw something on Twitter. Dorian Thompson-Robinson had a really good preseason. Would instantly bring some swagger to that QB locker room. I liked him a lot in college and going into the draft. He ended up on like the one team I didn't want him to end up on, the Browns. Because who likes the Browns? But
a couple people do, Patrick.
Like 5 or something. But anyways, I think you got to go try and get a QB. I think in all likelihood they'll probably get a more veteran presence. Just to kind of not turn the ball over and let the defense do their work.
Yeah, you just need a pedestrian QB that doesn't, like you said, doesn't make mistakes, takes care of the football, makes good decisions, and maybe they can find a way to sneak in because this defense is legit. This roster has a lot of great things to it. Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook, Garrett Wilson. They just don't have the right guy and pressing the gas and the pedal right there in the car.
True. Well, do we want to get to your segment here that you so creatively come up with? The studs and duds. You want to go first?
I do, and I'm going to start with a positive. Excuse me. Start with a positive. I'm about to have like a cough attack here. I'm going to start with a positive, and he is also on the Jets. That name is Jordan Whitehead, who made $250,000 on Monday night.
Wow.
With a 3-interception performance. I think for the Jets, we've said it already that it was just a somber event with Aaron Rodgers going down. They could have easily thrown in the towel, said, well, Zach Wilson's gone, and you saw Robert Saleh's face on Twitter, I'm sure, where he just looked dead inside. And Jordan Whitehead made enough plays to keep the Jets in it, to just do enough to let Zach Wilson find Garrett Wilson for a touchdown and then the punt return overtime win. So he's my first stud. I thought he played really well, a real ball-hawking performance with a quarterback who is in my duds category.
Yeah,
Josh Allen.
I mean, we can talk about that in a second as well. But yeah, him plus Xavier Gibson. He was featured on Hard Knocks, making the team, and it was cool to see him make an impact so quickly. But yeah, Josh Allen definitely helped out Jordan Whitehead a bit.
Absolutely.
And I'd put down in my duds category. I guess I can go ahead and mention one.
Yeah.
Just all the big money QBs.
Yeah.
A lot of them underperformed this weekend. Are we going back to the times where QB is not as important? Pay them the minimum amount you can, and let your defense do the work. Are we going back to the old days here?
We had Joe Burrow struggle, which could be contributed to the weather, and also he was out the entire training camp. Jalen Hurts struggled against the Patriots defense. We had Josh Allen struggle. Aaron Rodgers went down. That's not really his fault, but just a lot of big-name QBs didn't perform up to their salary this weekend.
Yeah, who would you be most worried about between Burrow, Lamar, Josh Allen? Even Deshaun Watson didn't play great. Even Geno didn't play that great after getting a contract this offseason.
I'm going to save one of them who we're not technically discussing because their dud is for later. I'm concerned about, I think it's going to be Josh Allen, but I want to save why for later. So
Okay. We can talk more about Josh Allen later if you want to.
So who is your first dud? Or actually, you already laid out your first dud.
Yeah.
Who's your first stud of this category?
Let me think here. Where do I want to go? I mean, it's got to be Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley combined.
That was pretty fun watch.
Everybody was wondering, Calvin Ridley hadn't played in about 2 years, and he looked fantastic. Was very clearly Trevor Lawrence's number one option. without skipping a beat, got back right where he left off. Trevor looked fantastic, making throws all over the field. He was putting it in places only his receivers could get it.
no
The
kidding.
Zay Jones touchdown, fantastic. Evan Ingram had a nice catch. Calvin Ridley was doing fantastic things, as I mentioned before. I think the Jaguars' offense looked fantastic.
He really adds a different element to this team because you had last year Christian Kirk, Zay Jones. You had a bunch of B to B plus receivers who could make plays sparingly, but you have a guy like Calvin Ridley who you can design the 75-yard plays for him. He's got speed. He's a crafty route runner. Clearly, Trevor Lawrence and him have grown a strong connection in such a short time. I'm really looking forward to seeing them play the Chiefs, especially where Mahomes' back is against the wall and Trevor's Jags are 1-0. I've had like a small worry that they were going to start a little slow because of all the excitement around their team against the Colts, who they historically don't play well against. I was pretty impressed with Jacksonville.
Yeah, the Colts didn't look bad either. Anthony Richardson had a decent game, especially, going into the season, he was viewed as the rawest prospect.
He looked the best this weekend.
Yeah, Stroud looked decent as well. Bryce Young was kind of up and down. But yeah, Anthony Richardson looked solid, and the Colts looked
They're
all
going to be a
right
fun
there.
watch.
Yeah, but the Jaguars-Chiefs game is something I'm looking forward to a lot. I think
I'm posted up. Week 2.
Is Kelsey going to play? I think they're leaning towards yes. I think they're all optimistic that he is going to play because they need somebody in that receiving room who has hands.
Yes, and they need to also play Justin Ross, but that's for another time.
That's another point as well. But
let me give you my first dud of this.
Okay.
It's going to be Ryan Tannehill, and I have said before, I've said it on other platforms, I've said it on numerous occasions that I'm not a Ryan Tannehill believer. This Titans team has a fantastic coach, fantastic pieces all around him. They signed DeAndre Hopkins to add an extra volume to this passing game, and Ryan Tannehill posted a whopping 28.8 quarterback rating with 3 interceptions. I saw a stat that said he would have had a better quarterback rating if he had kneeled every single down. He was, to put it bluntly, he was terrible against the Saints.
yeah, he was not great. I mean, I didn't watch this game super closely because, in all honesty, there were better games on. I feel like, although it turned into a close game at the end there.
Yeah.
But Titans Saints did not pique my interest the most, believe it or not. But yeah, Ryan Tannehill did not look fantastic. I think that age is showing. Tyjae Spears also out-snapped or played more snaps than Derrick Henry, which is a little surprising. I mean, Derrick Henry is getting up there in age. Maybe we see Derrick Henry start. Is this kind of the year where he starts to fall off a little bit?
Well, I could see them also trying to limit his reps early on in the year, especially if they believe they can make a run. But they might need to rep it up pretty soon because they can't give Ryan Tannehill the ball this too many times. There was I think it was a trick play they had where their tight end, wide open, couldn't even describe how open. All he could see was the Saints fans in the end zone, and Ryan Tannehill missed him by 5-10 yards. And I'm just sitting there going, oh.
I mean, do we see Malik Willis?
Maybe
at
we
some
see
point
it.
this
Maybe
season?
we do.
I don't know. The Titans are in a weird limbo position where I think Vrabel and the coaching staff wants to keep pushing for the playoffs, but I think their roster is just not
They're teetering.
totally built to do that. I mean, they have a few pieces like Jeffrey Simmons, but I just don't know if they've passed their point at this point. They've passed their prime.
Yeah, they had a couple good runs. They were the number 1 seed a couple years back. It lost to your Bengals. I think that was probably the final year that they could have made a push, but with Ryan Tannehill as their quarterback, they were never going to make that Super Bowl push. But Patrick, stud or dud? Which way are you going?
Well, I mentioned a little bit the big money QBs. We're going to talk a little more about Josh Allen. I mean, we can go ahead and talk about him right now. He was not good. And when I mentioned the panic meter, kind of who are you most, or asked you who you're most worried about, I would agree with Josh Allen. I mean, This game, we talked about the Jets already. When Aaron Rodgers goes down, if I'm anybody on this Bills roster, coaching staff, anything, I'm like, okay, all we have to do, not turn the ball over, not make dumb mistakes, we're going to win this game. We don't have to run up the score. The Jets aren't going to be able to do anything on offense. It's Zach Wilson. He didn't score a touchdown until the very end of the game.
Yeah. It was on a short field, too.
It was on a short field. Garrett Wilson had to make a fantastic catch. And what does Josh Allen go and do? He goes and throws three pretty stupid interceptions. I mean, one was it was on a third down and it was kind of a punt, but it was not good. It was not good.
I don't think anyone misses their former offensive coordinator more than Josh Allen misses Brian Daboll. You look at the last couple of years, and I'm going to read you his 2021 stats. This is before, or 2020 stats. This was before Daboll started to depart for the head coaching job. He has 69.2 completion percentage, 4,500 yards, 37 touchdowns, 10 picks, 107.2 QB rating. Bills make it to the AFC Championship that year. 2021, 6 points down in his completion percentage, 36 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, and a 92.2 QB rating. Brian Daboll leaves 2022, 63.3 completion percentage, 35 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 96.6 rating. So the quality of his play and the efficiency, he's still throwing for over 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, which we expect of Josh Allen, but the turnovers, I think he's got 20-something turnovers in his last 18 starts, and it did not get off on the right foot on Monday night. 3 picks, stuff that as a quarterback at his age, his experience should know way better than to throw into double coverage on multiple occasions.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking like the Josh Allen we saw a few years ago where he had no idea what he was doing. I mean, last year at the start of the year, he was, checking the ball down, doing everything he needed to, not just launching it whenever he wanted to. But the thing is, he plays every down like it's his last.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to win the game because it's, 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And it's kind of ironic that the NFL went to change the overtime rule for them, and they're 0-5 in overtime.
What a game since.
They cannot win in overtime. I think that moment, just losing to the Chiefs like that, has permanently just like attached itself like a symbiote or something
to the Bills' history,
to the Bills organization, and they can't get rid of it. They're infected.
It's bad, but if there's anyone that I also trust in the same breath to potentially turn it around, it is this Bills team. But maybe the Jets defense is that good, but man, it looked rough. And I wanted to do a deep dive on those stats because I was curious. And what I see is a quarterback that's starting to regress, even if it's ever slight increments on a year-to-year basis.
So you're saying Josh Allen is past his prime?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the efficiency isn't what it used to be. So that he was one of my duds, and he was at the bottom of the barrel.
I mean, he was a dud for sure, but they're playing
the Raiders.
They're playing the Raiders.
At home.
I mean, the Raiders won. They're currently atop the AFC West, so Jacoby Myers looked good.
Yes, Jacoby Myers also died on Sunday.
He did. I think he's all right, though.
Yeah,
right?
I hope so, too.
But anyways, I'll go back in the positive
let's do some
category.
Studs.
I mean, there's a lot of ones that I think a lot of people have been talking about. The Dolphins offense looked really good.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
The Cowboys defense looked really good. The 49ers, everything looked really good. But I'm going to talk about the Packers without Rodgers here.
Okay, yeah.
I think
show Jordan Love some love.
Jordan Love, he looked really, really solid. I think now that Rodgers is gone, Matt LaFleur is able to use his offense specifically more than he was with Rodgers. This means he's able to use more motion, more play action, because Rodgers didn't like that stuff super much, a ton. But Love looks really comfortable.
Yeah.
He isn't perfect yet, but he's had time to develop. We've seen how in the past QBs that have been able to sit and develop have worked out really well. And he looks comfortable. He's got a young receiving core that has room to grow. I mean, in all honesty, Jordan Love is kind of the adult in the room when it comes to, the QB, receiver, tight end. I guess you got Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon, but between him and his receivers, he's the adult in the room. So now that they have LaFleur's offense installed, this Green Bay team looks really, really good.
No one really expects them to do anything this year, and so I think the pressure for Jordan Love has to be really almost non-existent, being, hey, people expect me to fail. What do I have to lose?
Yeah.
So I really thought I was impressed with it. I think if you're a Bears fan, you're sick to your stomach thinking, here we go again, potentially. Maybe not to the Aaron Rodgers caliber, but if Jordan Love is solid, this Packers team will be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, it almost feels like, not that there were bad vibes associated with Rodgers and the Packers. I mean, there were some bad vibes for sure, but it almost feels like everybody's just more relaxed on this Packers team. Like, there isn't as much pressure. I don't know what it is.
The drama queen has left the station.
It's just kind of like everybody's kind of chilling a little bit more. It's more of a group effort, sort of, so everybody's contributing. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was fantastic, and a lot of the guys on the Packers team really liked him, but it just feels a little different.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put it quite.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the Bears as well.
Oof. Rough.
Not good. It looks pretty much exactly the same as last year. Justin Fields trying to do too much, not having much up. I mean, he didn't have Tevin Jenkins in this game, but
He had DJ Moore, but only posted 2 catches for 25 yards.
yeah. And Chase Claypool, there's a video compilation circulating around Twitter that's like a minute and a half long, 2 minutes long.
His body showed up, but not his mind.
Just not doing anything, no effort, nothing. And yeah, I feel bad for Bears fans, but it may be another long season.
Yeah. I'm going to go to a team that I'm secretly rooting for to do really well this year. My stud is Baker Mayfield. I was such a happy camper watching that Buccaneers-Vikings game. Now, Mayfield, stat-wise, he completed over 60% of his throws, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns. He called Byron Murphy a little boy, which was something. Now, whether this is sustainable or not, I have no idea, but I have been a Baker Mayfield fan for a while. He made the most out of his opportunity in LA to prove that he could be one of the 32 starters in this league. And he played really well against the Minnesota Vikings, a team that won 13 games last year. He didn't turn over the ball. I think he did exactly what he needed to do. And this is like Jordan Love. There's a lot of teams, or a lot of media pundits are picking the Buccaneers to probably be picking a quarterback in the top 5 this year. So Mayfield and this team are playing with nothing to lose. And I think that really embodies what Mayfield's personality is like. And they got a little bit of an edge to them, and you saw that this weekend.
You got to be careful, though. There's the Baker Mayfield circle.
Yes, I understand that there's a cycle.
You got to be careful with that. Yeah, I mean, you're firmly on the Baker Mayfield is good category.
I know. I might be falling victim to this.
And in like 3 weeks, when they play, I don't know, the Jets defense or something.
Yeah.
It may be this week, actually.
No, the Jets play the Cowboys.
Oh, wait. I don't know.
They play the Eagles in 2 weeks.
Yeah, there you go. When that happens, be careful.
They do play the Bears next weekend, so I think Mayfield will be okay.
That's going to increase the hype train even more. And next week, you're going to be talking about Baker Mayfield for MVP, so you got to be careful with that.
The audience will keep me honest. I know they will.
But yeah, you got to be careful with that.
Let's do one more stud from you, and then I got my final dud ready to go.
Another one that I don't know how much people are talking about, but Matthew Stafford and his group of nobodies.
Dude, Matthew Stafford and his group of Publix grocery boys, the bag boys, they did it.
Yeah, the other day, that reminds me, I went to go grab groceries, and I went to go get the milk and put it into my
Did it
car.
just, like, fall
it fell through the bag, exploded everywhere.
Oh, no.
Terrible.
Tragedy.
That's kind of probably what all the Rams fans thought when they heard Cooper Kupp was going to Minnesota to get his hamstring. Segue, there you go. Professional.
Really professional work
real
here.
professional. But anyways, Matthew Stafford was dealing. His elbow looks great. He's getting a lot of velocity on the ball. Puka Nacua out of nowhere. I believe he went to BYU, if my memory serves me correct. He looked really good. He kind of assumed the Cooper Kupp role, just getting peppered with targets. Tutu Atwell, who I believe was a 2nd-round pick a few years ago.
Yeah.
Has kind of done not much up to this point, but went in and did some really good things. And Matthew Stafford, despite having, can you name more than like 5 players on this Rams roster?
I would if I could, but I can't, so I shan't, and I will not.
Yeah.
Did you
Matthew
see
Stafford looked really, really good.
He did. Did you also see the clip of Geno Smith shouting, "Oh my God," as Aaron Donald was
Yeah.
charging at him?
I mean, Aaron Donald is still Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's scary. But
very scary.
besides him, can you name a single
No.
Rams defender?
I saw a TikTok that asked the same question. I tried to do it, and I just sitting there like for 15 minutes going, man, I'm not gonna cheat. I'm not gonna look at the computer, and I couldn't do it.
Darian Kendrick, former Clemson Tiger.
Stetson Bennett.
Stetson Bennett is on the team.
Cam Akers.
Yep. Kyron Williams.
Let's think here.
What about a defensive or offensive lineman besides Aaron Donald?
Next question.
Andrew Whitworth a few years ago.
Yeah. Can we do retired? Can we do anyone from the Super Bowl team?
Yeah. This roster is not great, but they got the win.
They're making it work.
Matthew Stafford looked good.
There we go. So now, Kieran, if you're listening to this, please turn away. My dud, the entire New York Football Giants roster. Man, was that ugly on Sunday night. And honestly, the first drive appeared to be very promising. It looked like they were incorporating some new things, picking up where they left off last year, making plays with Daniel Jones' legs, Saquon Barkley. They were getting like 7-6 yards a carry.
Notably, weren't having Daniel Jones throw the ball.
That's right. And then the second that the floodgates were opened, it was 26-0 before you blinked your eyes, and the Cowboys sleptwalked to a 40-0 victory. The Giants had more time of possession, they had more turnovers, and the Cowboys only had 265 total yardage, with Prescott throwing the ball. I think he completed 18 passes for 144 yards. They didn't have to do much to win this game.
Yeah, the Cowboys offense didn't have to do anything.
It felt like a preseason game for them.
Yeah, it felt like every single time I was watching the game, it was just, the Giants are on offense again, getting absolutely demolished. Michael Parsons lived in that backfield. He looked fantastic. This Cowboys team looks really, really good. Tony Pollard looked good. I don't know if Dak is going to have to do much because this roster is so good.
Yeah, and against teams like the Giants, where I picked, they're a popular candidate to regress. Now, are they going to be able to do that against the Eagles? Probably not, but depending on how you view the performance against the Patriots, then your opinion may change. But the Giants team, they got a lot to work with. They got a lot to go back to the drawing board with. We'll see if they respond next week.
Yeah. Daniel Jones, another QB that got paid this offseason.
Yes, he was one of the people that I was alluding to. $40 million a year. Ironically enough, they lost by 40.
He got $1 million for every single point that got scored on him this weekend.
All right.
But yeah, that's not great for the Giants.
Should we move on to our week 2?
Yeah, we can talk quickly about some things we're looking forward to week 2. I mentioned Jags Chiefs already. I think it's probably the best game this weekend.
So if you're trying to find out Travis Kelce's injury status, there's something, Patrick, about a pop star, I think. I don't know the name necessarily. She's not that famous, but apparently they're hanging out now, so that may be something.
I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know how much I believe it, but maybe that's why he was out.
Maybe
he's
I respect
injured.
that. I respect the hustle if that's the case.
Yeah, but that's going to be a fantastic game. I think another one to watch out for is the Dolphins offense versus the Patriots defense.
Yes, and the new look Patriots offense that showed some flashes on Sunday. But while we were getting set up here, the entire New England offensive line might be headed to the hospital. So that could be a rough performance for Mac Jones and company, who couldn't run the ball at all. They could throw it, but we'll see. I'm a little worried about that.
Yeah. I also, Bengals-Ravens, which QB is going to rebound? Joe Burrow just got a haircut. He's doing the Jason Tatum move where, he had a different hairstyle for one game, did not play well, is cutting it off.
He scored 35 the next game.
Yeah. So
I just checked.
Joe Burrow is going to score 35 this game.
There you go.
You can book it.
I'm excited to see Anthony Richardson versus C.J. Stroud.
Ooh.
That's going to be a fun one. There's a lot of, really fun games this weekend, as there usually is in the early NFL season, because we don't really know a lot just yet. So I love seeing the rookie-on-rookie matchup.
Yep.
Like you said, C.J. Stroud had an underrated little performance. He doesn't have much to work with. I still saw some of the same mistakes that in the preseason, but I think Stroud will be just fine if they can figure it out roster-wise. But we'll see. They played really well against that Ravens team.
Yeah, the Ravens didn't look fantastic against him. So first game for him and D'Amico Ryans as a head coach.
Yes.
They looked solid, and
I got one more before we wrap up: the Packers and the Falcons.
Yeah, I had that down as well.
Yes.
I think two teams that looked good. Desmond Ridder at one point was 4 for 4, 0 yards and a touchdown.
That's efficiency right there.
So, this man doesn't have to do anything and he's scoring points. So
he's just that good.
I think it's two underrated teams that are going to do well in the NFC this year.
Yeah.
And
could be potentially a matchup we look back to as a wild card tiebreaker.
I think so as well.
There we go.
But I think personally both teams will make the playoffs.
That'll be, I know a certain Falcons fan that would cry tears of joy if that was the case.
But yeah,
That'll do it.
I think it'll be a good week this week. But like Grayson said, that'll do it for this episode of The Cover 2 presented by Tigervision. I want to thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and like and subscribe and do all of that stuff.
Hit all the buttons.
Like Grayson said, hit all the buttons, and we will see you next week. Have a good one.